This next one
Mm-hmm.
comes from Maddie Ren.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of process do you go through when picking a tattoo artist?
Um, well, so my process was because I was about 20 when I first came back home. And I already had a few machine tattoos. Oh, but it didn't feel right. You go to again, I mean, hopefully you're getting a sense of, the type of person that I am, and authenticity is important.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just didn't feel, it wasn't providing me what I was looking for. And so I kept searching. And then I came across my teacher, Keone Nunes, and that was like gotta be 2000, 1999, 2000. When I was at university, I spoke with him. And at that moment in time, I was choosing to go to him versus a tattoo parlor because it wasn't enough. Tattoo parlors aren't enough for me
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to reconnecting to my ancestry or reconnecting to my traditions. And so in that search, I found him, and then he opened up a class. I got tattooed, and over the time, that's when he opened up a class and invited me to be one of his participants in his first class. That's why I learned.
Mm-hmm.
I think now there's more opportunity. I mean, not much more. I think there's like maybe a couple of other guys that do the work along. And my teacher now lives in Thailand. Um, so he's not. He comes back and forth to do the work, but not really accessible in the same way. But
Yeah.
so you gotta choose your timeline. But I'll say go to him because he's the master.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of that name before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's been about 20 years
Wow.
for that first class for us guys that we were learning. And so there's a couple of us still working. And then he opened up another class, and then there's one really good student.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a few guys, you just got to research them and sit down and talk to them. And I mean, because what I share with people before I work on them is it's really about the first meeting is just to figure out what words are you using to explain your intention? Because that's what I'm listening for.
Mm-hmm.
Is if the intention is something that runs congruent to the intentions you would carry into a tattoo shop, I'll say no.
Mm-hmm.
And I may have a job, and I'm not here to tattoo the world, so I'm not. I'm okay saying no.
Yeah.
But it's just there's got to be this deep desire to reconnect to your family, but not just your family, but the collective family of ancestors you come from, including, the animal plant
Mm-hmm.
world. It's because that's the designs are animals and plants
Mm-hmm.
and responsibilities and ranks and islands and
Mm-hmm.
winds. And, it's, that's the database of patterns that we have. And so that's our first stage. And then, because in that conversation, the tattooist the Miyakakao is going to tell you what they believe, and then that's it right there. I mean, you choose the person that has the highest level of congruence with you. But I would say that know the histories of the tattooists as well. Know the histories of them and what they stand for, what they believe in, what they produce, what they say. Because there are some people out there that aren't students of Kione that are trying tapping, and
Stay away from those.
I mean, I don't know, like it's okay for a married monarch to check genealogy or to check authenticity before they allow a halal on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same process. You got to have some buy-in from some genealogy or whatever. And and people challenge the genealogy all the time, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, talk to the Miyakakao, talk to the tattooist, and see what they believe in, and if it's congruent, go with them.
Keone was showing us his Alaniho right before this, and he was saying that his was like a year process before he even got it. He had to learn about his genealogy, because we were talking about, like, we're asking each other, like, oh, would you ever get one like that? And like, I never thought I'd ever get a tattoo in my life. Like, I got this in Madagascar. It's combining like the Malagasy culture with Hawaiian culture, with the Ohana and then the Okina as the island of Madagascar, and it's cheap over there. But I never thought about like getting like the kind of like the tatau kind, because I never felt like I was like that, like I was not worthy, but like Uh, like
What?
cause so for me, my connection to Hawaiian culture is the language,
Yeah.
not necessarily like the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't know too much about my genealogy because my last name is Diaz, but that's my dad's stepdad's last name,
Yeah.
and he didn't really have a connection with that, and so we're really Sonora,
Yeah.
the
Oh.
Japanese last name. But I have Hawaiian family from on Molokai
Mm-hmm.
and Ka'u on the Big Island.
Okay.
Like I think like well Hanakahi is one of the last name and all that. So that's something that I have to like look into to do
Mm-hmm.
it. And I wonder if after looking into all of that stuff, it would make me want like
Yeah.
that connection.
Well, it's and that's one of the things that I don't believe Hawaiian, like our form of kakao or tattooing is like it's not merit based,
Mm,
in my opinion. Some things maybe, but just in general, there are times where like you used it actually comes into a space in your life to strengthen you to reach your
mm,
highest potential. It's not something you got to get to your highest potential, then you get them.
mm,
It's you get them so that you can reach your highest potential.
It's like a simultaneous
Yeah.
journey.
Well, I mean,
So nice.
honestly, a precursor. So my
Yeah.
daughters, we tattoo them, start tattooing on the first menstruation. So it's really young
Wow.
to
Is
build.
that part of the Hawaiian history? Like people do that?
Well, it's the idea, and so okay, so this is where this might be interesting, okay,
Yeah.
because you have a ceremony called a kaimua
Mm-hmm.
for males, and there's no documented ceremony for females,
Mm-hmm.
but you do have the halepe'a, and that's the menstruation house. And so whenever you are removed from normal society, because that's what the halepe'a symbolized, um, then I go into research mode, right? Okay, where are the other places?
Mm-hmm.
Who were the other people or the other contexts by which someone was removed from society or lived separately? Because I would say the ali'i,
Mm-hmm.
that, those with high rank, you can walk behind them, or they had to live a separate life. And so in the 100% body form of our culture, that's what I'm searching for.
Mm-hmm.
And I searched for this before when they were young, because that's what I was worried about. I was worried about being able to mark ceremonially growth, these benchmarks and rites of passage, because those are important. And I believe that we had them.
Mm-hmm.
And so because if you have them for a male, I believe you have them for a female.
Mm-hmm.
Our culture is very balanced that way. But and so in that space, becoming a father, and I say this not to say that it's an authentic ceremony. I'm saying it's our ceremony, and I put it into my family.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I'm saying right now is part of my research philosophy, is that when you infer, you keep it to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When you use your own judgment, you keep it to yourself. You don't disseminate it and say, this is how it is. Because I'm not saying this is how it is. I'm inferring.
Mm-hmm.
And when I infer, I run them on my own family. When if you decide that my inference is agreeable or resonates with you, and you do it, it becomes your personal judgment.
Mm-hmm.
This is not me saying so. And I say that because we run this ceremony. It's called the Ahawai Makalehua for my two daughters, and it brings all of the females together in the family. They sit down, and then there's a presentation. The children's mother begins a presentation. It's a presentation of our daughter into womanhood, and
Oh,
then
that's so interesting.
well, each participant begins to think about what their message is to my daughter in that context. And so then all of these things are said to teach my daughters, the female. And then at the end, they like present this promissory, ha'i olelo.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when that ends, then because the men are outside, the aha is taking place in the backyard and the men are outside. And then the men come in, and that's when we start the alama'i tattoo. We start the tattoo on both legs. And it's only a small, it's just symbolic to mark that rite of passage. But we do that, and then the aha'aina, and then we eat. But it's to mark,
Mm-hmm.
in a significant way, their that natural passage into not just womanhood, but what I'll say is from being a really Noah, because this is something that we used to talk about with Keone as well, but the concept of young females being the antithesis of kapu, because once they have their menstruation, they have a high level of kapu as designed and designated by nature itself, the akua. And so when they transition, it's a transition from Noah to kapu. And so you mark it in that way, and we mark it with uhi, with tattoos, because that's what we do as a ohana.
That's awesome. Some people have quinceañeras, some people got bar mitzvahs. You got that.
Yeah. Well, and that's just there to help strengthen their journey. And so it's before they're even on the journey.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say for kakao, for uhi. In most cases, it's not something you earn. It's like a sticker on your football helmet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we been bred, through military. That's a military thing, is that you got to earn your bars and you earn your stripes.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think you basically is that if you don't earn the marks, if you don't have the marks, how are you going to get to your highest self? But not to belabor the point, but I think that there are multiple, like going into the lo'i and having your feet interact with the dirt. That's one space. Being on a va'a and feeling the tempo and the current and the wind, and that's you're putting yourself in spaces that the kupuna were in. And there aren't many that you can actually feel exactly what they felt. And so part of that, the transition from the world we live in to being able to be more culturally aware, be more traditionally linked. The process of kakauhi for me was transformational. Because it actually took me into a place in my mind that our ancestors went into. Tattooing places, parts of the body that are terribly painful. You go to depths within yourself that you never knew existed. Yeah. And I think that's where wisdom and strategy and reflection and mindfulness that made us comes from too. Being in the deep ocean, contemplating your existence is similar to I would say spending 2 hours tattooing your mouth. That you don't know. You're hoping you make it out of it. But there's a little voice in your head saying like, damn,